Not all men are paid equally. This couldn't be truer when it comes to the case of Monty Norman, John Barry, and Vic Flick, who collaborated in 1962 to make the theme song for one of the longest running film franchises of all time. Norman has made over £485,000 off of royalties for the song from the years of 1976 to 1999 alone, where Barry was paid an upfront fee of £250 and Flick a meager £6. This wealth disparity comes largely due to the writing credit for the song, which has been a source of contention for years. The law has sided with Norman twice when Barry, who arranged the music, attempted to win the rights to the song in court. Norman's legal victories also include 2 libel suits against publications that attributed the song to Barry. Further muddying the waters of who wrote the music is the song's striking resemblance to Henry Mancini's Softly. Regardless of who wrote what, nobody can take credit away from Flick, who plays the famous guitar riff in this piece, described by Norman as a dum-diddy-dum-dum rhythm. £6 well spent. No amount of money, legal disputes, or dark deeds in the shadows can change the fact that this theme song has had a massive impact on the franchise it represents and pop culture as a whole. That's right, we're talking Monty Norman's James Bond theme on Me. Cover Me.
We sure are. However, I want to add a few things to the intro.
Yes.
Not as as a an appendix, addendum, whatever. I looked up with an inflation calculator how much £6 would be now.
Sure.
And it didn't seem right. Like it seemed like it couldn't have been possible because I said in 1962, like British pounds to today, and then converted that into Canadian dollars, and it was like $220, which seems impossible. Seems like way too much.
Yeah.
Inflation, like for that much time. I don't know. Maybe there's some fucked up stuff going on with the pound that I don't know about. I don't know.
Shit,
But
Don, I'm not an economist. I don't
that
know
was
this
what
shit.
I got out of my just like online thing. There, I looked in 2 calculators. One said it was $186, and one said it was $220. So that's weird.
It is weird. That's a lot for just, like 50 years difference?
Yeah, it seems like, I mean, I don't know how that is in terms of like musicians' fees, but it seems like a huge change, which was a little strange. And the other thing, I listened to that other song. Softly, it doesn't sound that much like it. Like
it's like the chord progression that.
I know. I don't think it sounds that much like it.
Yeah, that's we talked so many times about
Right.
how like what was it last week with If You Could Read My Mind, where it sometimes there's musical similarities and it's just like, well, do I sue him? Maybe not.
Yeah, except in that one, they used the melody. Like, they used the same melody.
That was a little more
it was
blatant.
the same. This is like a kind of similar chord progression, but seriously, it's not the same chord progression, A, and B, it's not... I don't know. I guess it is unique enough because it kind of can identify a Bond song now, but like at the time, it wasn't probably that unique. I don't know. I can't make that call really, but like it's just I don't think it's that similar, basically.
It's just like a suspense building chord progression. It's
yeah, well, anyway.
You're in a fucking haunted house. Anyway, that's
Yeah.
right. It's Cover Me,
Sure
the only
is.
podcast that talks about famous songs and their many cover versions, compares them against one another to find out which one is shaken, not stirred. I'm your host, as always, Jake Cressy, joined by my secret co-host.
Dun-dun-dun-dun. Name flies in, Alex Mildenberger. It's not a visual medium, but
No, but
we try.
We tried our best. Alex, my alternative titles for this month were going to be Cover MI5 or Bond for Me.
Well, we may have a chance if we do more Bond songs.
We may just do that. But my problem is if we do Bond for Me, then things are going to be weird next month when we do Bon Iver Me.
Yeah, that's going to be tough. What?
Just I am, of course, kidding. I couldn't even list off a Bon Iver song off the top of my head.
Nope, me neither.
So Alex, we're talking about the original James Bond theme because Billie Eilish just released the new Bond song for whatever the new Bond film is called. What is it called?
No Time to Die.
No Time to Die.
And this is an example of a Bond song that shares its name with the film,
With the
which
film,
doesn't
right.
always happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like it happens sometimes, it doesn't happen other times. I don't know if they alternate. I don't think they do. No, because definitely the last, like this one, and I think Skyfall of the modern Daniel Craig Bonds, I think are the only ones that actually follow the name.
Yeah, because between that, you've got Writings on the Wall by Sam Smith, which was not the name of whatever came after Skyfall. Spectre, I believe, is the one that comes
That's
after.
the one.
Was Another Way to Die one of the films?
Yeah, that was for Quantum of Solace.
Okay, that's like the only James Bond movie I've seen from start to finish.
Yeah, honestly, that's similar to my background with James Bond. I've only seen Casino Royale. Like, I don't really care about James Bond movies that much, but Bond songs, I love them. I don't know why.
Yeah, they've got it. Well, it's just
They're
like
good
'cause
fun.
They pick such a broad selection of artists. Like, it's always a popular artist for sure, except for maybe like some of the earlier years, like where they get John Barry back on a couple of times.
Right, and like
do
Shirley
some
Bassey does
composing.
like I think three.
Mhm.
But like, and I think she was very popular though, but she's still like they kept calling her back.
Yeah, but you get like Paul McCartney, like Louis Armstrong, fucking Jack White and later Duran Duran. It's Aha, fucking Tina Turner, Sheryl Crow, Garbage. Like they go all over the place with their choices.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of interesting artists that I don't know. I can't really comment on their popularity at the time necessarily, but it seems like a wide selection, and you kind of get it like over the years, right? So there's a lot. If you go through all the Bond songs, it's not like an album. It's like it's just singles from almost 60 years now of songs of music.
Yeah. And it's wild because even the James Bond theme we're talking about today, which is just called that James Bond theme, they do try to alter it between movies to sort of fit the musical stylings of whatever year the movie comes out in.
Right.
But we're just talking about the original, which featured in Doctor No.
We are, and honestly, like for the story behind it, which is like they just paid a guy, what was it, Monty Norman, to write it, and supposedly they didn't like his arrangement of it that much, so like they kept the song, but they got John Barry to rearrange it, and that's kind of so it's sort of collaborative ultimately, even though Monty Norman ends up getting the credit. But John Barry was involved in the process and like making it what it is, and it ends up having this like distinctive personality that flowed through to a lot of, if not all of, not really all of, but a lot of the future Bond songs, and just like has a particular feeling about it that gets reused over the years.
And not only to just Bond songs, but it stems out to all like anybody who does like a spy movie parody. Generally they pull on music that pulls from this original theme.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like the Archer series, like their opening song is very much based off of the James Bond theme. I'm pretty sure Austin Powers does some fucking plays on the James Bond theme. Like it's
even
integral to like spy comedy.
Even like if you listen to some of the guitar in some of the tracks in Metal Gear Solid 3. I can't remember which song it is, but it's like one of the sneaking. I think it's like when you get caught and you're hidden and they're looking for you song. Like the guitar in that, it's one of the tracks. Like sounds really like this kind of the guitar in this song, which we will talk about, I'm sure, very soon.
Very soon, yeah. And like yeah, even the theme song for the Snake Eater is like directly like inspired by James Bond kind of
it's like
singles.
It really is a Bond song. Like they tried to make a Bond song in that way of like it's kind of got this like general poppy stuff, and then they get weirdly specific about some of the contents of the
Yeah, it's
movie,
that
or like
very,
being
like
a spy. And you're like, that's weirdly specific, and like like it should be a really general pop song, and then suddenly they're like, and you're sneaking, and you're like, what?
you're like, what the fuck?
Grab
It's like
your
someday you'll feed on a
PP7
tree frog.
and
You're like,
slap
what?
that guy with the golden gun. Yeah, so basically most of my exposure to James Bond was GoldenEye on the N64.
Right. I don't even have that level of exposure. I never had that for the N64.
Oh, I for sure did. It was like that until someone got an Xbox, and then
Right.
Halo happened, and I kind of dropped out because I wasn't good at it.
Oh yeah, that's fair. I was real bad at first person shooters for a long time, and now I'm just like okay at them.
Yeah, I guess I was also bad at GoldenEye, but it didn't seem so, cause it was so like janky, just cause it's old.
Yeah.
That like it didn't feel like such a bad thing. Yeah, my crowning achievement was, we had I killed a guy by slapping him, and he had a golden gun. That was
Nice.
that was a good time. Anyway,
That's yeah.
maybe we'll talk about that some more later.
Yeah, I don't know why that would come up in this episode. So let's talk about the lyrics first.
Yep.
Okay, good. Now let's talk about the
Sweet.
instrumentation.
Good job. Yes, so the instrumentation, so first there's that chord progression, and it's just 3 chords, and they just play them up and down.
Yeah.
And you can honestly like emulate it by just playing 3 notes on like if a piano, just 3 notes that are beside each other. The ones that it uses are B, C, and C sharp, and then it holds a chord under that. Just so it starts with an E minor chord, and I don't know if this is necessarily what they would call it, but it starts E minor and then C. It just moves the top note of the E minor, which is a B, up to a C, and then it moves that C up to C sharp, and then down again. So they're playing an E minor, and then a C, and then I think C sharp diminished is what I would call it. There's probably other names for it, because that's how chords work.
Right.
But that's the simplest thing I could think of. And it's an interesting chord progression, because to me, the way it feels is like it's going between these like minor sounds and a C chord, which is like pretty like
Yeah, it's like the major of majors.
It's like, yeah, the major of major chords, and like it's much more restful to me anyway. So when I hear this, it's like some tension and then like relax, and then tension and then relax. Like it goes back and forth.
Yeah, it really gives that idea of sneaking, right? Where
yeah,
it's
of like,
there
did something
isn't-
happen? No, okay, we're all right. And like, well, it's over.
Yeah.
And like, you constantly have to check around you and like confirm that you're still hidden or whatever. So it
Yeah,
really
you're
has an
constantly
interesting-
alert,
yeah.
but there's technically like when you're sneaking, nothing really happening. At least
Yeah.
if you're doing it right.
Exactly.
But like
But you-
emotionally, there's a lot happening.
Yeah, you have to always be careful and always be watching. So,
Yeah, so it is like low tension with like that kind of rest in between, and that's
yeah,
that's just like good, simple music.
yeah,
writing.
and it's so simple. It's 3 chords. Like,
yeah,
yeah, it's really impressive. And then also at the start, they come in with the there's some bass, but it's really just kind of outlining the same thing. And then the cymbals, which kind of add to that tension because they're happening very fast. You get these like
Yeah.
triplet cymbals, and that's kind of, well, to me, yeah, like still creating that constant sense of tension without like it breaking out necessarily.
yeah, because it's like they let it ring out, but they're hitting it quietly enough that it's not, it's not a crash or anything. It's,
Yeah. So
yeah,
it's a good, and that's probably part of the arrangement. Honestly, that's probably John Barry, but I don't know. It is the
Yeah,
John
I
Barry
imagine.
Orchestra or whatever.
yeah, because they brought John
Whoops.
Barry. It's interesting because they use this theme song again like a lot in the movie after Doctor No.
Right.
And then John Barry was just kind of like, what the fuck? Like, because he, got paid 250 pounds and they're just like using the shit out of it. And they're like, listen, we're not going to pay you for the song like any more than we already did. But future James Bond movies will come talk to you. And so he's, I believe he's composed 11 Bond films he's done the soundtracks for.
Which is pretty good. There's like 20 some. What was the number?
25, I believe.
Right. Yes. I feel like I saw that somewhere. Bond 25. I remember hearing that. I think 25 is the newest one. Is that true?
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah. Anyway, so and they also have I mentioned it's like a low brass bass. I don't know if it's a tuba or a baritone or what. I don't really know the difference that well. And it's accenting the 2 and the 4, which is kind of a jazz thing.
Yeah,
so that's
right.
the sort of jazz part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really just bop, 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 like it's, just a bass line. Pretty simple.
Yeah, and it's like even the drums on this, that cymbal usage is pretty reminiscent of jazz. It's not full-on jazz like we'll see in a lot of other versions we talk about today, but it is sort of in that realm.
Yeah, there's that jazz, and that's my understanding of like the arrangement difference was they kind of didn't like it that much, and then they called in John Barry and he like kind of jazzed it up, and that adds a lot. I'm really like I'm team John Barry. I think it was collaborative. I feel like they should both have a hand in this, in these rights, but I don't know. I wasn't there.
Yeah, and I'm sure John Barry is doing fine now. He's done 11 Bond films. Like,
yeah, he probably made out better in the end.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
Because, yeah, I haven't heard fuck all that Monty Norman has done since then. But I also want to be very careful of what we say about Monty Norman because
he'll sue us.
He's won 2 libel suits. I really don't want to get on the end of that.
He's I feel like maybe I don't know. I've only read the Wikipedia article.
So for the record, to be clear, we acknowledge here on Cover Me that Monty Norman.
This song was composed by Monty Norman, 100%.
Yeah, fucking wrote it. But we believe, it is our opinion, that John Barry should have a higher listing in the credits.
Yeah, I guess it's tough. I don't know exactly how credits are assigned, but I do think John Barry was a big part of what made this song what it was.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right. I don't know if we actually need to cover our asses legally, but we're done. We've done that.
I mean, we've done it now, and so
like, great.
Years down the line, if the Norman estate comes after us.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know who listens to this. Maybe he already listens to it.
Yeah, maybe he's hearing me right now.
That would be
fucked. So
else.
To talk more about the arrangement of this before we move into past the intro, it was recorded on the 21st of June, 1962, using 5 saxophones, 9 brass instruments, a solo guitar, and a rhythm section, which I imagine is your bass and drum.
Yes, there are. It becomes more obvious later on when there's more drums. But I think there's like a little bit of timpani or something.
Okay, yeah.
I'll have to go through my notes.
So then we get into the what's described as the dum dum dee dee dum dum.
Dum dum dee dum 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 dum
dum dee dee dum dum.
Yeah. So this is a cool guitar part, played by a guy named Vic Flick, as mentioned.
Which is a rad name.
Which is such a cool name, and like I looked up to see if it was a stage name. It's like Born Victor Flick. I'm like, oh yeah,
fuck yeah,
it's real.
Dude.
So that's Vic Flick. He was like a session musician. Played in a lot of stuff. Played in TV stuff and movie stuff. He played on A World Without Love, which is a song by Peter and Gordon. I think he played on the album. That only me. I recognize it because it's on one of my old like hits records.
Yeah.
Which is always fun to come across. I mean, obviously they were hits because they're on a hit record, but just like don't hear about them that often. So it's nice.
Right.
He also played on the soundtrack to Help, the Beatles movie, which was supposed to be kind of James Bond inspired. I haven't really listened to the soundtrack to Help. I've only listened to the Help.
I've listened to
the
the
album,
song Help. Yeah.
And the song, it's on there.
Yeah.
And he played this on a Clifford Essex Paragon from 1939.
Yeah,
which
plugged into a Fender Vibrolux amplifier.
yeah, so it seems really old, but it wasn't as old at the time, obviously. And if the guitar itself, it's an electric guitar, and it's like a hollow body type guitar. It's got the like dreadnought shape that you'd expect from an acoustic guitar, but
Right.
it's got, I think it's hollow in there. Which is and the actual guitar part is like kind of surf rocky, like this dark surf rock sound, which is very cool.
It's definitely it's definitely got that surf rock vibe, but with an edge. And that's what I guess what this song really thrives on is somehow allowing surf rock and like big band jazz to exist side by side in the same song.
Yeah, which I don't know, it works so well together. I'm so impressed because it doesn't seem like it should. But I don't know. And yeah, I don't even know if surf rock is the best way to describe it. Like, or did they just have a similar like influence, like ancestor? Because what's the time frame on surf rock? Like, it would have been around this time, I guess.
Yeah, late 50s, early 60s, as I imagine when it was emerging.
That's believable. Anyway, it's a really cool sound on that guitar.
Yeah, and so that guitar comes in, and then we get another brass instrument doing some in the back.
Yes, that's sort of like, it's sort of because that's gonna come back later. That's part of like the main melody. That
phrase
like the brass
is like
really
the precursor to the big brass.
Exactly, it's sort of just like teases that like that you're gonna get later, but it's in the background, so like it's not hasn't been brought forward yet. Very kind of cool.
Yeah,
that you get
it's
that
all about
foreshadowing.
This, like, tension build. Yeah, with a little foreshadowing.
Yeah, I guess that's another little connection that we might try to make, that like if this is about sneaking around and being a spy, you have to constantly be like predicting what might happen next. So that's like running through his head kind of in the background, and then suddenly
well, it's interesting because in the original first few films, the song was exclusively used to like in the title credits and to like introduce James Bond, so like when he appeared in a scene.
It is the James Bond theme for not just James Bond the movies, but James Bond the character.
But after let me see, after Goldfinger was the first use of the theme for an action segment, and that trend would continue in the films after that one.
I mean, I bet it was an action segment that involved James Bond. So,
presumably, yeah.
There you go.
But it's just like when we get to this big band break where it's
it gets pretty big.
Like, it gets huge. I just can't imagine, like, I should have watched Dr. No or something and seen how they used it, because I just can't imagine.
It's just the opening credit sequence, and I think it plays, I don't know, the like classic shot of like James Bond walks in and you're staring at him down a gun barrel, like you see the rifling on the gun barrel.
Yeah.
And then he turns and then just like shoots at the screen, and then the blood drips down, and then that's the like ba-na, ba-na. I think that's where it was used. I don't know if that was where it was first used, but like that started pretty early on.
Yeah, I think that was the original, but it also says that it was used to introduce the character, but that might just be what they're talking about is that scene.
Yeah, we really should have watched this movie.
I know, we're fucking hacks. I've been on a fucking weird schedule all week.
Yeah, you got new stuff going on.
Yeah, I got fucking stuff going on, so fuck it. Maybe we'll do a bonus episode or something that nobody will listen to.
Sweet. How's the last bonus episode going?
That one is, I don't know, probably not well listened to, probably not well received. I kind of forgot about it, in all honesty.
Fair enough. So that part comes in pretty soon after the guitar does this thing. Then it goes da-na. So that's a neat couple notes. It starts the same, like with the same bottom two notes as the chords we've been playing in the harmony, with just like E to G, which is just a minor third jump, and then it jumps up from the E. It jumps up an augmented fifth. Or I guess you might call it a minor sixth. I feel I'm gonna say augmented fifth because it sounds cool. And that's a tritone, which is like kind of a restless Uh, interval. It's like
Yeah.
what is it? My book. I got this book, and it refers to a tritone as. Hang on, I'm flipping to the page. It's a real book. A soft consonants. I think it's the sort of thing that, like, depending on the context, can be very dissonant. But it only holds there for a second and then drops down to the fifth, and the fifth is very consonant interval. I guess it's not playing them at the same time. I'm just trying to do music theory things, but I don't know that much about music theory. So anyway,
Hey, man,
and then you get that like and then down to 5, and then it kind of like restless for a second, and then like resolves very suddenly. It's not really resolution, but anyway. So I just said a lot of things.
You did say a lot of things. Yeah, I don't know if it resolves. I can't tell you that, but it does. Like it's a big phrase they use. Yeah,
it's a pretty big jump.
And then they build on that again. They throw more horns and shit, and they say we're gonna do that big fucking noise again.
Yeah,
and,
they do that
works.
a couple times. And
I
mean,
it manages to be both like big and like, but also seem kind of classy. It's both brash and classy, which I think is sort of definitive of James Bond's character.
It really is, yeah. Especially the early ones where you watch them, you're like, ooh, Bond, we can't do that anymore. You probably shouldn't have done it back then. But hey, it's a movie now. Let's see, what else? Yes. So the next section, yeah, so that plays a couple times, and then it moves into the next section to like. I've called that one a bridge section. I don't know if it's a bridge exactly.
Yeah, it's hard to say for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of a more like this one feels like a show tune almost. You know, like you could get like a what's the thing, the can
chorus line.
Chorus line. To this, like the drums changed too, because up to this point they've been playing those like triplets, and now they changed to these like swung, which is the same kind of timing, but now they hold that first one, and you get this like swung rhythm. Excuse me. So it feels less like hectic. Because you're playing fewer notes, basically.
Yeah, and then that leads to the big horn hits right at the end there.
Yeah, it's like huge. It's these like octaves, so they play like really, I think, probably across several octaves because it's several horns. Playing that like and then jump down to the lower octave to play the
right.
So that's like really big.
Yeah, and then from there we kind of go to a repeat of the guitar riff segment, which then leads us into the sort of the closing bit.
Yeah, and then also for that guitar riff, it's kind of like a little more going on. Just because there's like a trumpet doing, they have like the muting things on the trumpets to make them go like wah 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 kind of. So like it does this like wah wah like in the background.
Yeah,
getting that brass cutting through.
Yeah, you can hear that.
Yeah, and then sorry.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get the marker here. About 134, we get the big horn lead up to the like mysterious guitar riff finish.
The spy chord. I saw it called one time. It's a cool name. Yeah, so they do the jump, the but they do it several times, just like jumping up octaves.
Yeah, so it's like one high. Horn going on top of the other, so
which is a good way to like build up to your finale. And then end it mysteriously is this wild chord that, as far as I can tell, it's basically, I don't know exactly what you call it. I saw a lot of different names for it, but I don't really know those chords that well. It's an E minor chord, and then just played as an E minor chord.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of it, you play a B chord, and it's just like very mysterious, very restless. Of like what's gonna happen next? You know?
Yeah, there's a lot of things
tune in
you
next
can you could
time.
put in that moment. Yeah, tune in next time. Where like Bond gets fucking knocked out or something at the end of the action scene.
So that's a pretty cool chord. I had to like look it up.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there was a YouTube video where a guy showed how Vic Flick played it. Actually, you can see him play it in like a live performance.
Okay.
So it's pretty obvious what he's playing.
Yeah, that's useful.
Yeah. So it's a cool chord. I assume he played the same thing in the original.
I would assume so too.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah, so that's the original song, Alex. It's a classic. It's a classic.
It really is. It's got like this really distinctive feel about it. It seems to serve the purpose of, or seems to serve the film pretty well, and the character and sort of the atmosphere, quite impressively.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's endured for quite a while, considering that, like, I mean, how many random credits themes can you think of that aren't like popular music that existed before the movie? It's not very many. Not very many songs that were composed in this context have the longevity of this piece.
Mm-hmm.
So it's impressive.
That is impressive.
I mean, not many movie series have the longevity of James Bond, so that's probably part of it. But you know,
but
it's a well-made
the
piece
style
of music.
that this was made in. They were just like, wow, we need a fucking theme song for the movie. Here's $6 for you, guitars. They give you $250, and like it's it's like a pretty small beans overall compared to what the end result was.
Making it fast, making it, I don't know, cheap, I guess.
Making it on the cheap. But you know it is they did get a big like brassy movie version of this song, and if I can use this to segue into our first cover, which I believe sounds like a made-for-TV version of the theme song.
You talking about Johnny and the Hurricanes?
Johnny and the Hurricanes in 1963, the American instrumental rock band from Toledo.
Yeah, so apparently they're known for adapting traditional melodies into rock songs.
Mm-hmm.
And the Wikipedia page very specifically mentioned that like they were known for using a rock beat, which I'm sure in 1962 was a bigger deal, but now means fuck all.
I know, it's like they do 4/4 timing.
Great.
That was like my first note is like, oh yeah, the drums are more simple on this.
Yes, absolutely. They don't have those triplets.
Yeah, it's like less dynamic.
And that's kind of their thing. Now it seems like they made it less interesting.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, I guess it's not so much that is less interesting as it's like we added rock and roll attitude or whatever. But that's really, really lost on me. And I assume you too.
It's just like it just sounds like a lower budget version of the original song. Like those horns, because they still get the horn sting that comes in, and that is I heard like a message noise.
Yeah, that was, I think, John's doing a thing. Just in Discord.
Okay, I'll allow it. Yeah, so they got those horns, those doing the stings on the 2 and 4.
Yeah, it's very.
But they
like,
sound
buzzy.
like they're from the Batman TV show. You know,
they do.
I can just hear that, and I can hear like like the fucking sound effects coming up on the screen, like Boffo, wham, Shazooey, and you're like, yeah.
Yeah, I think
Batman.
those are low like saxophones or something.
Yeah,
they seem to be playing those. And then so they start with that, and it's kind of different. Like they're not even really doing a chord progression. They're just doing the saxophones and the those drums. And then
Yeah.
they start to play the like guitar riff. Or no, sorry, not even.
No,
It's
it's
the
the
trumpet
organ
riff,
comes
rather.
in.
Yeah, and it's like a interesting sounding organ. It's very like fluty.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a cool tone on the organ. I'll give them that.
Yeah, for sure.
I won't give them much else. Don't worry.
Yeah, I
But
question even the playing of that organ riff. It sounds a little sloppy to me.
yeah, and that's I guess always the. I don't know if it's sloppy or if they're just changing up the timing to fit with their style or something. But it
Mm-hmm.
does kind of give off that impression a little
Impression,
bit,
yeah.
just because it's different. And there are some later on that change it that seem more deliberate.
Yeah, that you can kind of tell and it seems consistent, but this has that sound of like a guy trying to find the keys, you know?
Which, I mean, Johnny and the Hurricanes. One of the factoids about Johnny and the Hurricanes was that at one point the Beatles opened for them, like before they
Wow.
were anything. So that's kind of cool. But I think it's just like they existed at the right time, that the Beatles weren't
Mhm.
popular yet. And in
Good
the
time
right
to
place.
be alive.
Yeah. So it's kind
As
of
a
neat.
shitty band.
Yeah, exactly. Before the Beatles, just like Dirty Dancing. That's in the beginning of Dirty Dancing. Don't worry about
Is
it.
that what it says at the beginning of Dirty Dancing? It
There's
says
the
before the Beatles.
before the Beatles. Before the Beatles. Before the Beatles.
Beatles.
And then says something about like the summer everyone called me baby, and I didn't seem to mind. Now I was like, so she's like sleeping with everybody. That's not what she means. Literally, everyone's calling her baby like as a nickname. But it took me
Right.
like half the movie to pick up on that, and like remember she said, I was like, why the fuck is everyone calling her baby? I thought the guy was being a douchebag. Now the guy was a douchebag. Anyway,
But he's also just calling her
I'm
baby.
getting off topic. I don't need to talk about Dirty Dancing.
Yeah, well, did somebody put baby in a corner in that film?
Absolutely. No, nobody puts baby in a corner. They tried.
Okay. Good, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. Fuck.
Yeah, Alex, tell me more about Johnny and the Hurricanes.
Oh, I don't know anything else about Johnny and the Hurricanes. I'll tell you more about the song,
yeah.
though.
Yeah.
I think then the guitar part comes in, but first they
Yeah.
play that for a bit. And then now their guitar tone does try to emulate the original, which is
sure.
almost unfortunate. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. But I don't know. I feel like they changed up. I guess their rock and roll thing. So they're like, well, we don't need to change the surf guitar.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, we got this. They do change it a bit though, as well. Like there's a couple notes that'll like go up instead of down, kind of thing.
Right.
But really the like, like, kind of the important part, I would say, is intact.
Yeah. It's like it's recognizable as the original.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We had a guitar solo around the like 1:15 mark. And it's like it's fine.
Sorry, there's another part I'm trying to hear that I wrote down. Yes, there it is. Yeah, it's like a surf rock guitar solo.
Yeah. It's like in my head I'm picturing like Batman like fighting the Joker on a surfboard.
Yeah, this is this is very. I didn't think of Batman, but now that's all I can think of.
It's like it's
it's so like 1964, I think is when that came out. Like Adam West Batman, which is excellent and should be watched. The movie at least.
Oh yeah.
I haven't seen the series, but I assume it's more of the same.
Yeah, it's a campy delight.
It's a wonderful time. One other thing they do is while they're playing the organ part, there's a guitar just kind of strumming the every once in a while, and I think that's the spy chord. Like they just pepper it throughout.
Okay, yeah.
But it's played a lot in the middle, or at least something similar. It sounds like it's kind of a tricky chord to get, So if I wouldn't be surprised if they were off a bit.
Yeah, if it's just a approximation of it.
Yeah. And then they just sort of go through it again. Like
Yeah, they just kind of like do the whole set twice
Yeah. So
and then fade out.
they play all the parts. They don't really do the octaves, do they? I don't think they do.
No.
They don't do like a big finale, really.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
they fade out, which
mm-hmm.
sucks, I think.
I think it sucks, and the problem that's where the using the organ is a problem because those horns are really supposed to fucking bring up the energy.
Right.
So when you give that part to this fucking spooky organ, you can't do that.
Yeah. I mean, fade outs can be fine. I don't really like them conceptually in a lot of cases, but they're usually not a problem. I feel like compared to the original, which ends so strongly, of this like and then like mysteriously to
Yeah,
just
it's
fade out. I don't know. It doesn't feel good.
It's they got because in the original theme you can loop that song for longer than the runtime of 1 minute and 40 seconds or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Because like the parts you can kind of just interchange from A to B to C, like again and again until you fill out whatever scene you need to fill. But yeah, being able to build a start and finish point in it that like makes a whole piece it's awesome.
Yeah, and
Rather than just
actually,
being like and turn the music down, like it's you know.
it actually did kind of remind me of like video game battle music. Like we talked about Final Fantasy IV battle theme. It kind of like structurally very similar. Like it kind of has like a bombastic part at the end, and then it brings it down, and then like can be looped. So like
100%.
it's been around conceptually for a while.
Yeah, I've never really thought about looping music outside of a video game context, I guess.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
that's
usually
neat.
you don't want to do it too much in movies because it kind of gets obvious because you can time it out, right? Like you can write the
Yeah.
song to be longer. But this song does get used in video games, so you know.
Yeah. Yeah,
maybe,
I do.
Maybe.
Should we move forward to the year 1965 to talk about Glen Campbell?
Yeah, let's talk about Glen Campbell.
We've talked about him before. He's a member of the Wrecking Crew. This one's pretty boring, to be honest. I just kind of threw it on because it's Glen Campbell and he's a big-ish deal.
Yeah, he's a recognizable name in like country music mostly. This is called the album. I like the album name. It's called The Big Bad Rock Guitar of Glen Campbell from 1965.
Hell yeah.
He covers Ticket to Ride, and he covers Mr. Tambourine Man. He also has a song called The Lone Arranger, which I'm assuming is a pun, and it's Lone Ranger song, but I don't know Lone Ranger that well.
Me neither. He's also got a song called Beef Jerky.
So that's fun.
So
yeah,
right
I assume they're all covers. So it's someone else's song called Beef Jerky.
Beef Jerky.
Anyway, and the album artwork's kind of neat. It's just like, except for his face. Like, ignore his face and just look at the people playing guitar. Looks kind of cool. It's all red and like.
Yeah, if you check out his like weird face in the corner,
his like superimposed smile and cleft chin.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool look going on there. Some neat artwork. But yeah, he's a famous guy. His version is pretty similar to the original. Opens with that progression. The drums come in right away. It is different from the last two.
It's like a 1-2 kind of beat.
Yeah, it's like kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then the brass like comes right in with and then like right into the guitar. So like they're playing around with the arrangement a little bit.
Yeah, that's something we'll see a lot as we move forward. Is opening with the
yeah, opening with something like fast, which none of these are like that new, so I wouldn't blame on like Spotify or anything like that. The like you need to make people listen to 30 seconds or whatever.
Right, yeah, you need to hook them in.
So it's not that, but you know, start off with something punchy. And then comes in the big bad rock guitar of Glen Campbell.
That's right.
And he plays the but he only plays it once.
Yeah.
And then it goes right back to just the like harmony, the chords. So
That's right.
that's like his arrangement. And then the trumpets play, but it like holds on the end. I don't know how interesting this is. Like it's different.
Yeah, it's different. It's more more big bandy in the in your sort of A section, like where the guitar is present than the original, which has a more subdued vibe.
Yeah. Although there's one part I thought was kind of cool. It's about halfway through. They
It's like
do
a minute
the
in.
what?
Like, is it like a minute in where they
Like
kind of
111.
it's just like the rhythm? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Hang on.
it's just the drums. I kind of like what the drums do. It's just a drum roll.
Oh
Couple
yeah,
drum
you
rolls.
get some tom action.
Yeah, and then you just get the and then a guitar solo. That's the big bad rock guitar of Glen Campbell.
Yeah.
And there's like 1 second that's very similar to the Hurricanes solo. It's 118 in the Hurricanes and 130 in this version. And it's like a couple notes that sound very, very similar to me. If you don't mind cross-referencing.
Yeah, okay, I hear
Yeah,
that.
it's the like bow 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 now now like kind of sound.
Yeah,
which
where
I-
they kind of go up on the guitar bit. No.
So I don't know what that means.
Just means that they were playing
I
rock
think that's
music in the
yeah.
early 60s.
Yeah, I guess it does. So yeah, that's kind of it. Later on the guitar part and the trumpet part like are played right on top of each other, which actually I would expect that to happen more often.
Yeah.
Because it seems like, oh, these are like the two distinct parts. What if we put them together? Like
Yeah,
it's
put
not
them
that big a
together.
jump. Glen Campbell did
Exactly.
it in 1965. But so it's kind of neat, when you're trying to like add to that cacophony, especially now when it's divorced from the original context of
Mhm.
spy movie, and you're just trying to make a song sound neat.
Yeah, it's a pretty simple, like A part, B part, A plus B equals the climax.
Yeah. And on top, like, I don't have anything else. Basically, it fades out as well, which I think is a shame because compared to the last one, I feel like they could have really done a big ending.
Yeah, and
But
like
they
he's
did
clearly
not.
still getting some riffing going on there. It'd been nice to see what the natural conclusion was on the tape.
I agree. Yeah, like what? Sometimes sometimes songs fade out, but like a new section starts, and you're like, that's not in the rest of the song. Why did you do that?
Yeah, you're like, what? How bad was it that you're like, we gotta cut that shit out?
Stop it! Stop! Turn it down! Turn it down!
Turn it down.
They're gonna hear
Stop
it.
the tapes.
But it's still in the final release. Like, what happened? And like, I don't know. That always seems weird. So, yeah, clearly something else happened, but it's not in here, so it
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Speaking of something else happening, Barry Adamson in 1991.
Yes. This
So
one's
he-
fun.
and this one's fun. In the late 70s, he was a bassist for the post-punk band Magazine. He later went on to do solo work, some composing, some producing. He worked on the soundtrack for David Lynch's Lost Highway, amongst some other things. And he also, the weird thing about him is this song is very like Jamaican and like, kind of reggae influence, but he was born and raised in England.
Yeah. I'm just seeing that now, actually. I realized I never checked where he was actually born, and he was born in Manchester.
Yeah.
But this is like reggae. And like it starts with like a story.
Yeah,
like,
after the horns,
it
after
does-
the
Yeah, it does the octaves from the very end of the song. And then he's like, James Bond was a little boy from Kingstown.
I have the
Kingston
whole
Town.
thing transcribed
Oh,
here.
please.
Once upon a time in Kingston Town, there was a little boy named Bond. James Bond. James always had a thing about wanting to be a secret agent. He would sit in the classroom in school and daydream about all the missions he'd be sent on and all the different countries he could go spying in instead of listening to the teacher. After school, James would walk home and pretend to be calling HQ on the two-way radio he imagined he had hidden in the heel of his shoe, unbeknownst to anyone else, of course. At the end of the day, he would lay down on his bed, announce to himself that the mission had been accomplished, and before his mum yelled for him to put the light out, he'd dream of standing before Her Majesty the Queen, wryly proclaiming, "In case there's trouble or we're under attack, have no fear, because Bond is black."
Did you say black at the end?
He does say black at the
thought you
end,
said
which I think
black.
is fucking rad.
That is funny. I had no. That is wild. I also missed the part where he imagined the two-way radio in his shoe, and I was like, "Who's on the other end of the line? Who's listening?
You're like,
who's he
calling?
talking to? What's the radio for?
It's so
What's the
weird
radio
that-
for, Bond?"
Yeah, I guess we should mention this is called 007, a fantasy Bond theme is
That's
his
true.
title for this.
That is true.
So he imagines instead of James Bond, the British super spy, he imagines a young Jamaican boy who wants to be a secret agent.
Which is, I mean, Bond is pretty fantasy spy, so kind of cool. Kind of makes sense, I guess.
Yeah. And who didn't want to be James Bond as a kid? I wasn't even a big Bond fan.
Yeah,
but it was
barely
like,
knew
he-
who Bond was. I just wanted to be Pierce Brosnan
Yeah, I just want to be cool as fuck and have a nice car.
and drive on glaciers. Am I remembering that right?
Oh yeah, with Halle Berry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, this version, after a minute of that, they get they get some steel drum. There's a steel drum fill,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's got a skank,
It's got a skank.
but it is not on a guitar. I don't think, unless it's very
No.
muted. It's mostly there's a drum track and then kind of sound accenting
a
2 and
very
4.
Scratchy percussion.
Yeah. And that's the beat underneath
Mhm.
everything. Because on top of that, they do the guitar. And they do everything else basically.
Yeah, and I think there might be a sort of low horn doing some of the skank there. Or that might be it might be keys or something. What is doing that boom bam bam bam?
There's a lot of low end, I will say that.
Yeah.
Which I guess makes sense. And let's see. Where am I? I should have put more timestamps. I started after this version.
Come on, Alex. I will say that in the beginning, when during the narration, we start with a sort of long synth sustain note, like a
Mhm.
and then as he's talking, we slowly these sort of reggae sounding horns and the rhythm come in, and it's weird because they're different from what actually plays in the rest of the song. They're much more bright and kind of cheerful. But then, yeah, once you hit about the minute mark, it changes with the guitar riff coming in.
Right, yeah, you don't get a whole lot of horns after.
Mm-hmm.
You do a bit, there's kind of a bass thing going on, a low saxophone.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sounds more, I don't know. I guess, yeah, you're right, bright. That's basically it.
Yeah, it's very bright in the beginning, and then the guitar cuts in and sort of changes the atmosphere entirely.
Yeah, and then they change kind of again because they do the horn part, the big jump.
Yeah.
And then the drums change for that part too. It comes
Yeah.
it goes to the swung rhythm from the original, basically.
Yeah,
But that's I don't
100%.
even think played in that part. I have to double check.
And you got I think there's a really low or very distorted guitar doing some moving around in that section. Yeah, it goes down. It does a rundown in
Yeah,
there.
there's just so much low end.
Yeah,
There's
it's
also-
interesting because there's less instruments than in the original. but like the one horn that is playing pretty loud and echoey.
Yeah, they really
It's
like
like a
fatten
yeah.
up that low end, and like there's also a bass doing kind
Mm-hmm.
of like a walk-in thing, which
Yeah.
honestly could have been happening in the original. I could not hear it.
Yeah, it can barely hear bass in the original.
It's definitely an old recording. Like
Yeah.
it's early 60s, so not super modern. Um I got to be on top of these notes,
Yeah, get on top of those notes. So I'm just like listening to it. This version feels like kind of playful to me.
which is
Just
kind of more
given
like the story of this kid who is James Bond instead of a super spy who is
yeah.
James Bond.
Yeah, we get like this cuz like that section where we switch to the like swinging jazz rhythm. It's just like one big horn having fun and like this guitar just kind of playing around it. Like it just feels like it's
Yeah.
like a small like set of instruments playing very big rather than a big set of instruments playing very big, which maybe speaks more to the idea of imagination, where it's just like the small thing with a big idea.
Yeah, I'll take it.
All right. And then we get and like during the like the regular section, the rhythm section is very like it's still that bouncy kind of reggae style. It has like a light playfulness to it, even with the guitar riff overriding it to be a little darker.
Yeah, it adds a bounciness to it that makes it feel very different. It doesn't have that
Hmm.
same tension. It's still there. The chord progression's still there. But
Yeah.
but the change in rhythm really changes how it feels.
Yeah,
For
it's
sure.
like it's still identifiably James Bond, but with just like it's a bit of a different vibe to it. And then as we get to the end, these two horns, like two competing horns, just kind of start doing solo shit.
Yes, there's a trumpet solo, but it's two trumpets, or they pan the trumpet back and forth. But it's probably two trumpets.
Yeah,
And that's kind of the end of the song. One might be a
yeah, because it
saxophone.
seems, yeah, it might be because I think they're doing like a call and response.
That doesn't sound like a saxophone. I changed my mind. Oh, that
Okay,
does. Yeah, I think there's a saxophone involved.
yeah, I think that's the one that plays in the right ear. It's in a little like higher up in the register.
It's there. It's
But
there
yeah, they play
somewhere.
that out with the it's got that 3-chord rhythm that while the two horns, the trumpet and the sax kind of just take us out.
And yeah, this is an interesting version. It changes the way it feels and adds some pretty cool stuff, particularly in the like kind of low end of it. Even with that guitar, that's not really like a rhythm, but it's
Mm-hmm.
just kind of like mucky low end distorted thing, which is kind of a neat sound.
Yeah. It's a neat little piece. Let's talk about GoldenEye 64 in 1997, Alec.
Sure, let's talk about GoldenEye 64 in 1997. So the movie GoldenEye came out in 1995, but the
Mm-hmm.
game didn't come out for 2 years, which is pretty wild. Is made by Rareware, who's known for
That's
making
right,
some
baby.
pretty kind of classic games on the Nintendo 64. And this
Yeah, not
was
only
on that.
classic games, but some classic soundtracks too.
Yes, this particular soundtrack was worked on by where's
Three
my
composers. You got
yeah, throw 'em
Graeme
at me.
Norgate, Grant Kirkhope, and Robin Beanland.
Yeah, who I don't know if Robin Beanland worked on this particular. He said wrote the elevator music and a lot of the sound effects, which I think get
Okay,
used
so he was
in
more like a
this
sound
version.
designer.
Yeah. So I don't know much about Graeme Norgate. Grant Kirkhope's pretty well known as a
Yeah.
composer for working on like Donkey Kong 64 and Banjo Kazooie.
Yeah, did he do the Donkey Kong Country games too?
Uh, I think he worked. I think so.
Yeah, because wasn't it a big deal when because he came back for Donkey Kong Country Returns, didn't he?
That's David Wise, I
Okay,
believe.
David Wise is yeah.
But here, Donkey Kong Land 2 conversion. See, David Wise definitely wrote Donkey Kong Country 2 soundtrack. I'm not
Right,
100% sure on.
he
I
and
think they worked
Grant
together
Kirkhope
at some point.
converted it to the Game Boy game. I'm just looking at
Okay.
his music credits right now.
And
Oh man, and he performed live guitar on the Star Fox Adventures soundtrack.
ooh. Let's see. Oh, Graeme Norgate worked on Blast Core,
Blast Core.
which I don't remember the soundtrack to. And Jet Force Gemini. Diddy Kong
Oh yeah.
Racing.
Diddy Kong Racing.
There you go.
So yeah, I don't know who specifically worked on the theme song for the game, but that's what we're covering here. It's it's your big sweet like
both.
meaty file glory.
Oh yeah, it is so compressed, but I feel like that compression just hits. It just punches so hard.
Oh yeah, dude. Like it's got that arcadey feel, like you're here to play fucking Bond the video game, baby.
Yeah, and like this song was one I heard pretty often as a young person. This was definitely my first exposure to this theme. I didn't know it was from anything but this game.
Yeah.
Like I barely knew what James Bond was, but I knew that this was from the beginning of GoldenEye. And it comes in so hard. Like it comes in with the octaves, but it's like these compressed, like really quick, bam, bam,
quick,
bam,
sharp.
Bam. Yeah, like it really hits. Like I don't know how you do that, but like it's very, very quick.
Yeah.
And then just the low, but yeah, and it's all these like low quality like MIDI samples, I guess.
Yeah. So you get the low quality like synth.
Yeah, playing
this,
that
like,
chord
very like rock and roll drum beat. This.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the guitar, like I didn't even think of this. Like I'd forgotten. It's just like this ripping distorted electric guitar, like playing the guitar
like it's
part.
hard.
And like a lot of them try to sound like the sort of surf rock guitar, and this is not that at all.
Yeah, this one's just like, hey, what's up, buddy? It's the 90s. We love grunge.
We sure do. It's 1997. We are post-grunge. We are distorted. This is a texture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then around like 40 seconds, you get these fucking stings.
But like even before that, like this guitar part.
Yeah.
It adds the trumpet jump. Like as part of it, it goes the like like it's on the guitar.
Right.
And then just like keeps going.
Yeah, that's right. It just goes high and like rips it.
So it's all this, like MIDI guitar.
And a random drum effect like in the section after that. This like
I don't think I have that. Let's see.
like if you go to like 37 seconds.
Oh yeah, that. Okay, I missed that.
So there's like those high sharp notes, and then somebody like almost rolling their fingers on a drum or something, like a hand drum.
Oh, is that the really low? It's like very like wide, echoey, like almost.
Yeah.
Like it to me, it didn't even sound like a roll. Like it just sounded like one echo. You know what I'm saying? That sound, I don't know. I feel like that sound happened in the game. That sound is so like stuck in my mind.
Right.
And, like
it's
just
like
thinking of
an
like
in-game cue
of the level design in this game. Like just like the concrete and like metal buildings. You know?
Yeah, it's like a harsh version for the sort of harsh graphics of the era, right?
Yeah, and even for like that, like even for the era, like the setting was so harsh. I mean, it's all like in Russia, and everything is, like I said, like concrete and metal. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like I feel like that echo somehow just that echo is so like we're in an underground giant like concrete facility and someone made a
Right.
sound and everything sounds like that because that's where we are.
Yeah, and then at your like 50-second mark, we get this like very like weird synth. It's like sounds strained, you know? It's like
Hey, question.
yes.
Is this industrial? Like, are these drums like industrial music? I don't listen to industrial music.
I don't listen to industrial music.
But it's very like all the drums are like echoey and anyway.
I tell you this. Draws on harsh, transgressive, or provocative sounds and themes. Like you could make an argument for it.
It's definitely harsh. There's definitely harshness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then that synthesizer plays the which is itself they've played around with the timing a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very similar to the trumpet riff, and we know they're not screwing it up because it's like it's MIDI.
Yeah.
You can mess around with the timing, probably. And sounds cool.
like this theme manages to have like the dynamics of the original, but in a way that suits a video game environment.
Yeah, it's more like on the one hand, I don't know. I haven't seen GoldenEye. I think it was a little more actiony than some of the previous
that's very
ones.
possible.
I'm just looking at the video game box art. There's some pretty big explosions and a helicopter with an explosion.
Yeah.
So I'm making assumptions.
And then there's
but on top of that,
line
they've turned
of
it into
his
a
mouth.
first. Oh, sorry. Oh, yes.
Sorry,
There's
that like follows into his fingers there.
that
And
makes it
looks
look like
he's
his
just got a
mouth
big
is
mouth.
extended. Yeah, that's quite a look. And they've taken like what is theoretically anyway a spy movie and turned it into like a shooter, like you're shooting guys with guns.
Yeah.
It's like more of an action game. So I feel like this adaptation of the theme song reflects that pretty well.
Yeah.
So like, what if we put
that.
this guitar in instead
and
of
it
that
builds
guitar?
into this big chaotic finish with like everything coming together. And then it hits the classic octave notes and repeats.
Yeah, those octaves just hit so hard.
Yeah, this one is like punching from start to finish.
Yeah. So this brings back memories. For me.
Oh yeah, and for most people in the comments, people are like, "Oh man, this is the good shit," or they're like, "Oh yeah, when you heard this song at a family gathering back in the day, you knew shit was about to go down."
Ugh. You knew that someone was gonna say slappers only, and everyone's gonna say no.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds like every time I've played James Bond, GoldenEye.
And no, it's fun. Proximity mines. Because you can't always see them, and then you explode.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude. Yeah, this one I wasn't expecting much going in, but then like it actually kind of slaps. It's one of the more daring versions, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Rare had a pretty good track record with soundtracks in the 90s. So that's what this came out of. Like, they had some really strong composers and arrangers, so it's good shit, man.
It's good shit. Moving on to the other 97 hit, we got Moby.
Moby. So Moby is an artist. I mean, the first time I heard about Moby was from that one episode of How I Met Your Mother, that they're in a limo and they're drunk and they meet a guy who's bald and they're like, "Hey, Moby," but he's not actually Moby. He's J.P. Manu, which is an actor's name. Which I looked him up too. He's the voice of Kuzco in the TV series. The Emperor's New School.
The Emperor's New Groove? Oh, the New School.
Because David Spade didn't come back for that.
Weird.
So, although I think they got John Goodman.
Ah,
And fucking shit.
and fucking shit.
Fucking shit. What's his name?
Fuck.
Patrick Warburton.
Patrick Warburton. That's a
Yeah.
that dude. I feel like does anything though. He's got a pretty spotty record when it comes to like
That's
actual
fair.
good projects.
He sounds good, but he doesn't always do the best stuff.
Yeah,
Not that he's not
100%.
good in those things necessarily. I'm not judging Patrick Warburton, but the projects he's involved in have not all been amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe that's just me.
Maybe that's just you. So this is called Moby's reversion. Is that correct?
Fucking
Which
who
is
says it
a
isn't?
wordplay on revision and
Version.
version.
It was 1997.
Yeah,
We
this
hadn't
is,
invented comedy yet.
Yeah, exactly. We're still waiting on that. This is like if Mission Impossible and James Bond had a baby, like the two themes.
What did
With
Will
maybe a little
said-
Darude sandstorm.
Will
in there.
said? The beginning reminded him of The Matrix.
Okay, yeah.
So there's a little bit of that. It's kind of got this like kind of, you know.
Yeah, so it starts out with like straight up piano for the rhythm chords there. That
But not for very long. Yeah, it starts with the
No,
kind of like low piano.
just enough for us to get the the pull line. He says Bond, James Bond.
Right, they do use voice clips from the movies.
Yeah. And then is that that like electronica build
Yes.
up with whatever sort of synth he's
Yeah.
got there.
The synth's kind of neat because it like evolves over the course. It's not like super out there in terms of the sounds it uses, but it does change and kind of like the filter opens up and closes again, and like you can kind of hear it moving around, which is something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was something. It's and then it gets the guitar riff in pretty quick, right?
Yep.
And is it adding more notes in the guitar line?
I didn't
Or is it
notice.
just a little echoey? I think it's just a little echoey.
I think it is a little echoey. And then there's another guitar that does this like.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? That happens a couple times. See, I don't know
Yeah.
if they're actually referencing it. But there's the wicka wicka guitar. I called it a wicka wicka guitar because it does a wicka sound. That sound gets used in Diamonds Are Forever. So I don't know if this is supposed to be quoting that or referencing that.
Right. Maybe. When did Diamonds Are Forever come out?
Much before this.
Much before. Okay.
Yeah, it was one of the Shirley Bassey ones, so it was definitely before 97. I think it was one of the earlier ones. But I don't know if that's actually a reference, but because it's like a common enough sound, but that does get used in Diamonds Are Forever.
Right.
I think. I shouldn't add I think on the end. I'm like 99% sure. I just forgot to double check
sure.
before we recorded.
Yeah, it does have that wicka wicka guitar, that kind of thing. And this one's got like a big bridge section in it.
Yeah, which was what I called the bridge, right?
Yeah. So the 19 section there, it uses this like I think it's pad synth to kind of like replicate strings.
Yes, and then suddenly, okay, I see. So they do a like part.
Yeah.
And then they get into that part with the they do some octaves before that, don't they?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, but he doesn't play the lower part. Okay.
No.
Sorry, I wanted to mention that because that's kind of one of his big changes, which is not that big. It takes out the lower part of the octaves, so it's just like
yeah, that's right. But you have that your scratchy guitar at the bottom there.
Ooh, you sure do. Sorry, I moved my leg. It was getting a little sore. So then I said,
we get at the 207 mark. Well, as this bridge goes, like it slowly builds in more things. You get the scratchy kind of funky guitar coming back, and I think he's trying to hit this line between like being funky and hip while also being like kind of classic. because like the horn sting in the original is replaced by like a beep. It's just like beep beep beep
Yeah.
beep.
Which does, like, you mentioned, or I mentioned The Matrix.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's Matrixy necessarily, but it's definitely like digital, like mechanical,
Yeah. And
technological
that
sounding.
90s kind of digital where we're
Yeah.
like, oh, the future is
Like
button
the
noises.
future is beeps and LEDs. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
you're not totally wrong, but
Not totally wrong. And then at like 2:07, we get like a sort of almost like 90s hip hop breakdown.
yes, there's that part where and it's playing like the clip from I don't know which Bond movie, but it's like a classic line.
Yeah. Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
Classic. Good
Do you think
shit.
Bond felt like a fucking idiot when he got that answer back? He's like,
like,
oh, I should have known.
Of course. Actually, I've heard this line before. I didn't realize it was actually from a Bond movie. I thought it was just like a joke. Cause
It is kind of funny, right?
It's a
Like-
funny line. And then it just kind of gets to like, yeah, it's got the like beat going. So this is the like
Yeah.
break to dance in,
Mm-hmm.
I guess. I don't know.
I guess. It's just like, and then, we get some horns and stuff. It's very, like, it was this kind of like, it was trying to be big in an electronic fashion.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess Moby's a big deal in like electronic dance music or dance music. But I don't know much about him.
It's just, I feel like this song has that sort of like futurist outlook where it's like, we've built electronica to replace the old instruments. Check this out. We can make a big band grandeur piece with electronica instead of, an orchestra.
Yeah, and then you throw some samples in.
Yeah, you're like, try seeing this at your local orchestra, and they're like, oh shit, wow,
Oh.
Moby.
No one talks of the orchestra.
It's just, I feel like it was a piece built to be kind of cutting edge, and in the way that many cutting edge things, when viewed in hindsight, just kind of look dumb.
Right.
That's the kind of feeling I get from this.
It definitely seems to be of its time. I guess we could say the same thing about the N64 one, but I like that one way better.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not biased at all about that. There's no reason.
Yeah, I guess,
there would
but
be
there's
a
something about the
bias.
restraints of that version, because you can only push N64 sound chips so fucking hard.
Right. It sounds like it's from the 90s because they literally made it on a piece of technology that like was made at that time. Like there's nothing else they could do.
Mm-hmm.
It was of its time by necessity versus being of its time by sounding like the sort of old idea of what the future might be.
Yeah. It's like, it's the difference between a Daniel Johnston recording and somebody with like expensive equipment covering Daniel Johnston,
Ah.
It misses
I do
out
know.
on, there's a difference. There's a core, the intangible that's missing.
Yeah, and like it's fine as a dance track and it's drawing from good music.
Yeah, and it is interesting. There's a lot going on, and it's still recognizably Bond while being different.
But you just think it's aged itself a bit.
Yeah, I think it is just aged. I think it is just like it is a relic.
Of
Not necessarily for the worse,
1997.
but just simply it is.
Of the distant past of 1997, which is actually
Yeah.
becoming more and more distant past every second.
Every fucking second. But like, it held my interest the whole time, and it's one of the, yeah, I mean, it's not really one of the longer versions,
Yeah.
but
No, it is not. But we'll get there. We'll get to
We'll
the
get
longer
there.
versions.
we will. But for now, we're gonna go to Reverend Organdrum in 2008.
Is that what it is? Organdrum? Oh, it is
Yes.
too. See, I read it wrong. I read it Organdrum, which
Come
I
on,
think
buddy.
would also be kind of cool. I
Yeah,
didn't think it
fair
meant
enough.
anything. I don't know. I didn't read it apparently. I
So this
searched
is
it somehow.
Well, Google kind of, calculates for spelling errors and shit.
Yeah. So
Um,
this is
yeah.
apparently led by Jim Health, who also
Jim
goes
Heath.
by Reverend.
Come on, man.
Oh, well, see, I wrote an L. I typoed that one. Who goes by Reverend Horton Heat. Heat? It's not Heath, is it?
No, yeah, it's Horton Heat.
And
You got that right.
and some other guys. Apparently, they are an organ trio that pays
Yeah, which
homage.
doesn't seem to check out to me.
Yeah, because there's clearly more than organ in this, and they only have the one album. So
Yeah.
I don't know, man. The article that I read about them from 2008 seemed to be
Yeah, on
really
that Jazz
into them.
magazine website. Yeah.
On Jazz Times, by Steve
Jizz
Greenlee.
Times.
So thanks for existing. This article, because this is the most information I could find about them. He
Yeah,
seemed
me
to be
too.
really into them. He's like, hopefully this continues, and it did not continue. So
Yeah.
maybe they do
a
live stuff.
bummer.
I don't know, but sorry, Steve. What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? I mean, maybe Horton Heath or whatever. Horton Heat, Reverend Horton Heat still plays.
I have no idea.
It looks like it, or at least they did up to 2018. That was when their last album came out.
So this one does the thing that's pretty common, by starting with the octaves.
Yeah. Da-da-da.
And it's a good way to draw people in.
Yeah.
It's a very
They
high
accent
energy
it with the
start.
drums a little too, so it's.
Yes, and then they go into the chord progression, because you got to do the chord progression.
Yeah.
That's the best part. And
Yeah,
I think they're
that's
going
on
a little
the-
faster.
Yeah, this does seem to be a faster version.
The other thing about the chord progression, the harmonies, there's organ and there's guitar playing for that. And there's a lot of this song is kind of organ and guitar just doubling each other or playing the same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, particularly in the like the big band section, that da-na-na-na-na-na.
Yeah, this is one of the few versions that actually brings that triplet percussion back.
Yeah.
And also, like, when the way the guitar is being played, it's like strumming fairly slowly. That's always fun when it kind of like separates the notes in the chord.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. It's a cool sound. Does it mean something here? I don't know.
I don't know. This is just like a
Yeah, sometimes I go back and try to like analyze what I wrote. I'm like, I wrote this like saying like this is what happened. I'm trying to remember the words for it. But I can't. But like, what does it mean? And sometimes I think of it ahead of time, but not always. And
always.
sometimes it doesn't really mean anything, so it doesn't matter anyway. Yeah.
Ain't that the truth, Alex? This
Anyway.
one is it's just like a kind of stripped down version of the original. You got to the guitar is pretty crunchy. I wouldn't exactly call it distorted, but it's got a bit of it's got a bit of an edge to it.
Yeah, it's kind
They
of
do-
got like a wavering thing going. Like you can hear it.
Yeah, and they do a good job of hitting that sort of swing section with the rhythm. Like they have some good dynamics in this piece. They know how to move back and forth between the parts to generate a bit of interest.
Yeah. They seem to be playing fairly well together or whatever.
Yeah, at 2 minutes, a guy goes, yeah.
2
Makes
minutes,
a
the guy
noise.
goes, "Yep."
Yeah.
Cool. Hang on, there's another. Oh, right. One of the ways I think they like make it feel a little bit bigger. There's the trumpet part. Once they get into that, they're like da-na, da-na. Most of that is led by the organ.
Yeah.
And then the drums kind of go into the like the swung version instead. The guitar plays as well, and it kind of matches it for some of it, and then it will go back to play like the progression for a bit or play some other notes, and then it will join again. So it's kind of got that like weaving in and out feeling that I like usually in arrangements, and I like it here too.
Right.
That where you kind of like sometimes they're working together, sometimes it's doing other stuff. It's got that, like, I think you said dynamic. You said dynamic, right? We say dynamic a lot here.
We say dynamic a
but
lot.
you said
I think
dynamic
it's-
about this song specifically, and I think that's
Yes.
definitely part of it. Is that particular, I guess, arranging technique of like sometimes matching and sometimes playing another part.
Yeah. And they actually do the original finish.
Which you think would come up more because it's a cool ending.
Yeah, it's fucking groovy.
Because that chord is like, I don't know, that chord's so crunchy and just fitting, you know?
Yeah, it's just like a good like finish on this piece, and yeah, that's like honestly the Reverend Organdrum version is like a better version of Johnny and the Hurricanes.
Yeah, they seem to be doing something similar other than the rhythm thing, but that's just
Yeah,
kind of part of it being more modern, and like a 4/4 rock beat is not interesting anymore.
that's right.
If it ever was, I guess it
It ever
was.
was.
It seems wild, but I guess it must have been.
Well, yeah, because sometimes by simplifying things, you draw a
True,
different kind of
true,
interest.
true. I will grant you that.
I have been granted that. Thank you. Thank you for this grant. Speaking of things that rhyme with grants, we're gonna talk about Daniel Lantz trio in 2012.
Yeah, so I assume there's 3 guys here.
Yeah, they're from Uppsala, Sweden.
Swedish
I'm assuming I'm
guys.
pronouncing it. It could be Uppsala. Daniel Lantz is the pianist. The trio started out as a corporate events band, but now they do other shit. They kind of, they hang out with other Swedish musicians and do Swedish shit.
Swede.
So we got about like this thing's about
This
like,
is 640.
you fucking scamp. This is 640. Roughly 1 minute and 40 seconds of that, I would say, is James Bond theme.
Sorry, blow my nose.
Okay, I thought you just fucking snorted a line. Let's talk about Daniel Lantz.
Daniel Lantz trio. This is the craziest shit. No, it's not the craziest shit. This, honestly, boring. Too long. There's a lot of stuff.
100%, dude.
Basically, like, their piano. There's a saxophone that plays the guitar part, and then like the piano does the trumpet, but then the saxophone plays. They do a little jump, and then like they do the thing. They do it, but it's like jazzier. In the
Yeah,
terms
it's
of
just like, what if the original was more jazzy?
but not even just jazzy, because the original was jazzy. But this
yeah,
is
but,
like
more, yeah,
boring jazz.
yeah, like lounge jazz.
Yeah, this is not. I don't even dislike this style of music necessarily, but I feel like this is not the best example of that. Like it, I don't know. They play it, and then they go into the solos, and then it's just solos, and the solos don't even match the feeling all that much. Like it's just we did a solo, great.
Yeah, they just do jazz solos, and the solos start at 1 minute and 20 seconds. They finish at 5:39.
And it's like 2 solos.
Yeah, and it's just like you're saying, there is no like attaching line between the solos they are playing and the James Bond theme.
And like maybe if you're super into jazz, you could identify one. But me as a casual listener, nothing. There's nothing for me here.
Yeah, there's no like, because like a lot of people when they do solos in this kind of context will include like a phrase from like the original riff or something that they'll kind of repeat and stretch and change.
Yeah, and I always
throughout
thought
the solo.
like I mean, I think a lot of jazz does that. And
Mhm.
maybe they are, but and maybe there, like I said, maybe there's a connection that I just don't see, but I don't think that I'm not going to give it points for that. Like
No, I think it's a cheap trick to use a popular song as a springboard to just solo for fucking 5 minutes.
yeah. And I don't even think the solos are that good.
No, they're fucking boring. They're whatever, man. Again, neither of us are jazz connoisseurs, so maybe this
No.
is spectacular form, but I'm not impressed by it.
I doubt that. I honestly doubt it. It feels like very old-fashioned to me, and just kind of just not very interesting. Like,
yeah, it seems like a corporate event band doing jazz.
Perfect analogy. Where did you get that from?
Where did I get that? I just pull these things. They come to me.
I'm one with the universe.
That's right.
It is given to me by a higher power.
A higher power. Exactly. It's fucking divorced from the original song. What they give us that's new is not interesting.
Nope.
And it's It's not cool. It's not cool. If this played in a James Bond movie when James Bond got introduced, I'd leave the fucking theater.
Be
And
like,
this fucking James Bond sucks.
I know who this guy is. Why are we still here? Like,
Yeah.
like stop playing the song. Like maybe in the background of some scene where he's in like a lounge. Like you're not listening to the music, jazz is just happening. And that's what this is. It's not, doesn't hold your attention. It happens in the background.
Yeah. It's not even like dark, mysterious jazz. It's just fucking jazz.
Yeah, they didn't even. Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't have had to have given it that attitude or that feeling, but like, they could have given it something, and it doesn't.
Yeah, give us something that connects to the original, either in the notes being played, in the tone of the music, like something. Like, it's not a big ask, and I feel like they dropped the ball on it in every way possible.
Yeah, and then they play it again at the end.
Yeah.
And they do like a chord at the end. Like, but I mean it's not really the spy chord. It doesn't really have
a jazz finish.
Yeah, it's just like
more than it is
like
a spy chord.
I don't know what it is. Some jazz chord. It sounds kind of nice.
Yeah, and they do, worth noting that with the octaves, they do really stretch out the space between the high and the low. It's
yeah, just adding that little bit extra time, and that can be a pretty good technique for creating some like anticipation of like, especially something like this where you expect it. Like it's well known enough that a lot of people listening are going to know what the timing should be, and you change it. That's mysterious, but yeah, for what?
Yeah, for like if they had weaved in more playful tricks like that, you know, gone from a solo, weaved back into the main riffs, come back. Like it just needs. I hate to use the word again. It needs dynamics.
Dynamics, man.
That's what it's all about, baby.
I don't even care if it has dynamics. It needs something. Maybe dynamics.
It needs something. Like
it
needs work. Yeah,
I'm done with this weak sauce jazz.
Fuck yeah. Let's talk about the Melbourne Ska Orchestra. Founded in 2003, this band performs with anywhere from 18 to 36 members. It's led and directed by Nicky Bomba of the John Butler Trio, as well as Bomba and some group called Bustamento.
Bustamento. It's a fun name.
It's like a memento you keep after you bust a nut. You're like, yeah, it's my Bustamento. Back first time I came.
It's a used condom. It's disgusting.
It's gross. But I got it framed. I like to keep it on the wall.
Oof. I'm sure that smells nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're
kind of like
no.
You know when the Beatles would like
more
nail
of this?
condoms
Is there
to
more
the
of
walls?
this? They did. Maybe frame just a piece of chicken instead if you wanna.
It's both pretty bad. I feel like the chicken. If you get the chicken from like McDonald's, a lot of preservatives.
Yeah.
It'll
both
look a lot better.
Bad, but one visually, I feel like if you have guests over.
Oh my god, yeah. They're like, is that a condom framed on the wall?
Frame used condom.
You're like, yeah, what? You don't keep Bustamentos around?
Like, yeah, I usually just steal a sock or something. Jeez. All right. Okay.
All right. That was a bad riff, and I'm keeping it in the thing,
but here we
these
are.
Guys toured internationally. They're I would say that's a relatively small size for an orchestra, 18 to 36. Does that sound about right to you, Alex?
For an orchestra? Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people in a room.
It is a lot of people.
It's bigger than a big band.
It's true.
How much would usually be in an orchestra, though? I'd say a small orchestra, like band size, basically.
Yeah. So this one definitely a skank on the track. Am I right?
Oh yeah, not at the start. Like it starts with octaves because that's what you do.
Yeah.
It does the harmony, the progression, and then there's like right before they transition into the guitar part, there's like this kind of jangly guitar playing.
Yeah, this down, 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 adds a little mystery in there.
And then drum fill into the guitar part, and then there's a skank.
Like a very
then we're
clear
skanking.
skank. Baby, we're skanking.
Sorry, I'm just skanking over here.
Yeah, you skank out, my man.
Skanking along.
And yeah, so that other guitar that was doing the jangle parts kind of comes in and out throughout the track.
Yeah. Also, like the drums that are playing along.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty straight, 4/4. But
Yeah.
it also like they add some like more hits in every once in a while.
Yeah, and they'll do a little fills like once after the first minute, once they start doing the big band kind of section, the like the drums start going in a little more. They're like dun, 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 dun.
And they kind of start to join.
Yeah, and there's like a one main horn riff and sort of other horn groups that play off of it.
Yeah, they kind of like build up and then they play their thing. Sorry.
Yeah.
And yeah, and
these ones are the toughest to talk about. These fucking instrumental covers, like
I know, and it's all instrumental anyway.
It's all instrumental.
And they also the brass is pretty restrained, I thought. And also like they play the trumpet riff a couple times, but it's like I think it's saxophone one time and then trumpet the next time. And you didn't say that already, did you?
No, I didn't.
Okay, good. Sometimes I zone out and I'm like, oh fuck.
So and then they do the bridge from the original, the and then the octaves again, but in their original context. And from there we move at the 138 part right into a guitar solo.
But is it a good guitar solo?
It's very sparse and it pulls on the ideas of kind of surf rock from the original. I don't know if I'm crazy about it. I don't know if I hate it.
I think it fits pretty good. Like compared to some of the other guitar solos, it keeps that kind of mysterious feeling.
Yeah.
And it's like really low and bassy. And like they do a lot of these like bends and stuff on the strings. So I think it's pretty decent.
Yeah, I'll allow it.
And like you said, it's pretty sparse. And they're skanking along with it, so you can bob your head along if you want.
Yeah, so it keeps like a base level of energy.
Yeah. The solo didn't blow me away or anything, but I thought it was reasonably well executed.
Yeah, it's it's like fine.
And like compared to the solos in the last one, it actually fits the tone. So that's nice.
Yeah, and it's it manages to fit the tone, and so it's even when it is not playing James Bond notes, it is recognizably like James Bond themed.
Yeah, as opposed to like, hey, someone's playing jazz, I guess.
Yeah,
I'll do something else. Because it wasn't very good.
It wasn't very good. Yeah, so they they just they do some build ups. They play the segments again. There's some low key fills on the drums. There's a little bit of texture with the two guitars they have, and we do the actual original finish.
And there's one sound I really liked. It's like at the 240 mark. It was woo.
Yeah, like a string slide kind of noise.
That's the one. It's got to be something big though. Like it doesn't sound like a guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the horns come back in, and the saxophones and the trumpets are going back and forth, and yeah, they actually do that.
And they do horns instead of the guitar, which I mean it's okay. I like the guitar chord at the finish is really like it's a good touch.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. The way they finish it, I kind of like it because. The guitar does play it, but it's strumming like one string at a time, doing it slowly. And then as it does that, the horns do their kind of like swell, where they go right. So like you get kind of both of those. I thought that was a neat touch.
So you get the mystery and the big. Yeah, I'm just hearing that now. Yeah,
so I thought that was cool.
Yeah, respectable cover from the Ska Orchestra.
Yeah.
With that, we're going to move into our final verdict. We got 3 categories today. We've got the worst version, the best version, and the one most suited for Foreigner's concept album, Agent Provocateur.
Spy concept album. All right.
So Alex, hit me with it. What's the worst version of this, and why is it the Daniel Lantz trio?
Because the Daniel Lantz trio version was not very good.
It was bad, man.
It was kind of uninteresting jazz music. It was an uninteresting jazz music version of this song, bookending a whole bunch of uninteresting jazz soloing. I don't know what else there is to say about it. We've said so much. We spent way too much long on that version already.
Because it upset us.
So
it's too long, and I throw these big meaty jazz pieces on from time to time because I'm like, one of these has to do it right.
And there've been good ones,
and some of them have been fine. Yeah, some of them have been pretty good, but like,
this is what not to do.
Yeah, this is very much not what not to do. Yeah,
so
it's unanimous. It's the worst version of this. Alex, what's the best version?
What is the best version? Okay, heavily biased. There were some good arrangements here. Barry Adamson. Sorry, it's
Adamson.
cut off here. Barry Adamson. A lot of fun. Liked that version. I thought the Melbourne. I like saying Melbourne because apparently that. Yeah.
Melbourne.
Ska Orchestra. Also pretty good version. With that ska. So the reggae version and the ska version both solid. Some tight versions from some of the other guys, but I mean, how can I not give it to the GoldenEye version?
Yeah.
I don't know. I love it so much, and there's so much history there. I can't not. It's got to be that one.
Yeah, that one's kind of a surprise hit for me because I don't really have that same level of nostalgia, but the sounds they managed to get out of this fucking N64 sound chip really kind of fucking slap. Like, it is a very cool version of it.
Yeah, I mean, you always hear story. I don't have a story about this one, but like listening to oh, that's interesting. Listening to stories about just like the things they did back then to make the hardware and software work the way they wanted it to. Like, it's insane. And I don't know what happened in this one. Maybe it didn't, but these are definitely guys sort of crafted by that era of like, you got to put all this effort in just to make it kind of work the way you want it to. And
right.
They killed this one.
Yeah, I think they knocked this one out of the park. Yeah, I hate to be agreeing with you again. I really did like the Barry Adamson version just because it was kind of bonkers.
It's a good version.
Yeah, it's a good version. You know what? I'm going to give it to Barry Adamson just
spread
to
it
be
out
different.
A little bit. Both very
Spread
good.
the love.
Yeah.
Both very good. Alex, which version of this? I'll also alter this category to make it easier. Either best suits Foreigner's concept album, Agent Provocateur, or would be the music that would play in the background while you were doing some spy shit.
Ooh, which one would play in the back? I feel like, as much as I like the GoldenEye one, probably not good for spy shit. Not as good. The one that would play in the background while I was doing spy shit is probably the Johnny and the Hurricanes version, because there would be me getting just comically beat up and like Batman style, Batman 1960s style. It would be just like horrible like slapstick mishaps all day long.
Yeah, it would be comedic and this like kind of like sloppy organ playing.
Yes.
I was gonna say the same fucking thing, but since you've taken that, I'm gonna say the
joke.
Moby version.
I said it first. What did you say? What version?
I'm gonna do Moby because it's a little. I feel like the theme's a little self-important and is trying too hard, which I think defines me pretty well when I do anything.
All right, sounds good. But which one would be an Agent Provocateur?
Easy. It's Daniel. No, it's probably still Moby.
Probably still Moby.
The question you have to ask yourself is which one of these was delivered by God?
Which one was delivered by God? We'll leave that up to you.
We'll leave that up to you. No, you know what? I think it would be The Reverend Organdrum version. It's got Reverend in the
Got
title.
Reverend in the title. Obvious. I guess that's got to be it.
Yeah. Or possibly Barry Adamson because it has a story within it.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm not going to analyze it, but that makes sense.
That's the best I got for you. That's been our main segment. Be sure to follow us and stuff. Let me try this again. If you have a similar opinion, different opinion, or want to talk about a version of the song we didn't talk about, hit us up on Twitter, #CoverMePod, @JakeTheCressy, or @SomeAlexWiseGuy. Or you can send us an email at covermepod@gmail.com. You can send us comments, questions, concerns. Be sure to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts, whatever podcast thing you subscribe to us on. If they have a review thing, give us a review. Hit us with the 5 stars. We put a lot of work into this, and then just put all the constructive criticism in the words. We'll read it and go like, "Oh, hey, maybe that's a good idea," or we'll read them out on air and call you a fucking idiot or something if we think your ideas are dumb. So, roll the dice. We're also on Spotify, Stitcher, your favorite podcasting apps. Follow us. Tell your friends about us. We're going to jump into our bonus segment now, in which I'm going to ask Alex a question, and he is going to answer it. Alex.
Yo.
I was going to ask you what your favorite Bond film is, but it seems like you haven't seen a lot of
favorite
them.
Bond
like
film is
myself.
Casino Royale because it's the only Bond film I've seen.
Hey, there you go. So what about like your favorite spy film? Also, my favorite Bond film would be Quantum of Solace because it's the only one I've seen. I really didn't even like it.
Trying to remember what spy movies I've seen now. Can I say Metal Gear Solid 3?
Sure, it's mostly a movie.
That's probably it, honestly. Like, really? Like, what else? What other spy movies have
Powers
I seen?
fan?
I've only seen Austin Powers 2. I liked it.
Okay.
For some reason, I haven't watched the other ones. Don't know why. I've seen Mission Impossible 5.
Okay. Yeah.
It was all right.
What about Kingsman, the Secret Circle?
I didn't watch
the Secret Service, the Golden Circle.
That's
I think is the other
sequel,
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've just Googled spy movies, so I'm working through.
I did watch Johnny English.
Johnny English.
That is
Is that,
Rowan Atkinson.
Like Mr.
Yeah,
Mr. Bean.
And I have seen the Get Smart movie with Steve Carell.
Right, I was just gonna ask
and
about
The
that.
Rock. I liked that one. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Or I liked it. I don't know if it's any good. I liked it when I watched it.
I liked it. What about? No, that's pretty much all I got for spy movies. I like Kingsman.
Yeah,
that was a spy film.
I'm still saying Metal Gear Solid 3.
That's a good call. But what about this movie?
We gotta watch some spy movies, apparently.
Yeah, apparently that's something we're missing. What about Captain America: The Winter Soldier?
That has been called a spy thriller, but I don't know why because I haven't seen enough spy movies.
Yeah, I've never been thrilled in my life.
So,
what about Jack Reacher or its sequel, Jack Reacher Never Go Back?
I didn't see Jack Reacher either.
Neither did
It's on TV sometimes.
What about Alex? What about the hit spy thriller film Cars 2?
Seriously?
I'm just reading this off Wikipedia, baby.
Cars 2? I only saw Cars 1.
Cars 2.
But I also saw Doc Hollywood, so.
Alex, here's the real question. Which Spy Kids movie is the best?
Oh, shit. Spy Kids 2.
Yeah.
That's probably it.
I don't know. I kind of like the original more.
I don't even remember.
The original's got Floop's Fooglies in it or whatever.
It does. What's in the sequel?
And then they
Some
go
round
like,
thing.
Floop is a madman. Help us. Save us.
Yes, I liked them all. I loved them all equally, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, to say one is better than the other, based on my memory of them, is impossible.
It's impossible. This is fucked. They're listing Agent Cody Banks as a spy.
I have seen Agent Cody Banks as well.
Do not see Spy Kids. Oh, Spy Kids is listed in the series section.
Okay, so I haven't watched a spy movie since I was pretty young. So most of my spy movie experience is like children's movies.
Right.
Or I guess family movies, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, family movies.
All right, so we're going to watch, I don't know, what spy movies are there? James Bond? Kind of?
James Bond. Yeah, we'll try
Bridge
to watch
of
a James Bond
Spies.
film.
Is that a spy movie?
That is apparently a spy
Spies
movie.
is in the name.
It's in the name.
I remember.
It's about the
apparently
bridge.
That's pretty good. All right, let's check out some espionage action.
Yeah, if you guys have some espionage,
Please recommend things to
references,
us. We don't know what we're doing.
We're fucking lost here. Hashtag I spy.
With the letter I or the word I.
Let's do the word I.
Okay. That better not be a thing already.
Hashtag spy for me.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
And as we always say, that was the bonus segment. Share a spy movie with us. Hashtag spy for me. No, I spy. Hashtag I spy or hashtag spy for me. Whichever you prefer. And as we always say on Cover Me, the name of the podcast is me. Cover Me. Yeah, I use that same joke in the intro. Fuck you guys. I don't care.
Still a good joke.